class, I'm Lizleen F. Tumantay, your teachers for today. How are you? I hope you are all good and you are all fine. And I hope that you are all excited for today's lesson. Alright, so our lesson for today is all about shielded metal arc welding, or it is also known as SMAW. But before we proceed to our lesson proper, we're going to identify our lesson's objective. Letter A, we're going to define shielded metal arc welding and the different welding process. Letter B, we're going to identify the different material used in SMAW and the safety work procedures. And letter C, we're going to discuss the importance of welding parameter. Alright, so since we identify our today's objective, let's proceed to our lesson. First, we have what is shielded metal arc welding, or SMAW? When we say SMAW, it is a term which comprehends various diverse practical and visual skill with knowledge of specialized materials and techniques. So, ibig sabihin, ang SMAW, that is the knowledge or that is the process wherein we're going to use the different specialized materials in welding using this SMAW process. Next, shielded metal arc welding is also known as manual metal arc welding, or MMA or MMAW. Flux shielded arc welding, or informally as stick welding, is a manual arc welding process that uses a consumable electrode covered with flux to lay the weld. Alright? So in other definitions, SMAW is one of the most widely used kind of arc welding, and it is one of the most flexible kind of welding. And SMAW is the foundation of all kind of arc welding. So in our definition, we state the word electrode. An electrode is covered with flux. I have here some example of electrode. This kind of electrodes, alright? So pag sinasabi natin covered with flux, this one is what we call flux. We have the core wire inside, and the core wire is covered with flux. Alright? So in SMAW, we have the different types of electrodes. First, we have the 6010 or 6011 that is used for deep penetration in our base metal. So I have here an example of 6010. So this is used for penetration in our base metal. Or halimbawa, if we're going to weld a pipe, this kind of electrode is used for root pass or for the penetration. Right? Next, we have our 6013. 6013 is commonly used electrode. Sinasabi po natin siyang commonly used electrode dahil ito po ay kadalasang laging available, or siya po yung laging kind of electrode na available sa ating market. So I have here the 6013. And next one, we have our 7080. If we're going to compare the different kind of electrode, si 7080 ay mas makapal po ang kanyang flux. Right? And based from my experience in welding, this kind of electrode is very sensitive. Wherein kapag ang ating base metal is marumi, hindi po siya agad-agad mag-spark compare po sa other kinds of electrodes. Alright? So makikita po natin ang difference ng kind ng electrode na ito if we're going to try in welding. Makikita po natin siya, depende po sa, makikita po natin difference na doon. Unang-una doon po sa spark ng ating, or sa pag-strike po natin ng ating po mga metal. So that are the different types of electrode in SMAW. Okay, so let's continue. We have here the types of welding process, or the different welding processes. First, we have the SMAW, or the acronym is shielded metal arc welding, or it is also known as stick welding. Number 2, we have the GMAW, or the gas metal arc welding, or it is also known as MIG. Next, we have the GTAW, the gas tungsten arc welding, or it is also known as TIG. And fourth, we have the FCAW, the flux cored arc welding. And number 5, we have the SAW, the submerged arc welding. Alright? So, isa-isahin po natin yung mga different types of welding processes and their difference from each other. first, we have the SMAW. When we say SMAW, the specialist material used in SMAW is the electrode. So electrode is a consumable material, as we stated earlier. Next, we have the GMAW, or the MIG welding, wherein case SMAW, they're using electrode. In our GMAW, they're using a filler wire. Right? Next, we have the GTAW. From the acronym itself, tungsten. They're using tungstens as their electrode, their rad. And we have the FCAW. So FCAW and GMAW is almost same process, but the difference is the flux that they are using. Alright? And the SAW, I have here an example of SAW processes. When we say SAW, submerged arc welding, wherein this kind of welding is usually used, they're welding ships. So, pag makikita natin yung picture or yung ating video, this kind of welding is underwater. And if you're going to notice later on sa ating video, yung mga gamit po nila is nakatali para hindi po sila lumutang. And the welder is ang ating mga welder is they have their oxygens. Yan, para makita po sila. And in SAW, they're using a specialized kind of electrode. This kind of electrode is for SAW. Hindi po sensitive ang electrode po nito compare sa mga iba. Kasi sa SMAW, lalo na sa SMAW, kailangan po natin i-oven ang ating electrode para makapag-spark po tayo. Kasi kapag may moist po yung ating electrode, hindi po siya basta-bastang mag-spark. So, sabi nga, dito kay electrode, itong kakaibang electrode niya kasi kahit nabasa siya or nasa underwater siya, nag-spark po siya. And same, even though they are in underwater, they're wearing their personal protective equipments. So that is an example of SAW. Next, we're going to discuss the advantage of SMAW. So when we say SMAW, what is it has a lower equipment cost than GTAW, FCAW, and GMAW. So pag sinabi po natin lower cost, mas konti po yung ating magagastos sa SMAW compare po kay GTAW, kay FCAW, at kay GMAW. So this because of it is highly portable, and it is this kind of the equipment used is very simple and affordable. At kay SMAW, we can buy a portable welding machine. Compare po kay GTAW, FCAW, at kay GMAW, wala po silang mga portable machine. And the electrode is mura. Mura po siyang bilhin. Next, we change from one material to another. Kasi nga po, sisiksik lang po natin yung ating pong electrode if we consume the electrode. The process lends itself to welding in confined space and various position with few problems, and this position rates faster than GTAW manual. So, next, it is easy to move from one location to another, no wire feeder and battle. And according to research, it has the different power capability, gas, diesel, and electricity. So, mas madali po tayong makamove. O, madali po siyang allowing to be used in the place that do not have electrical setups. Then, some special electrodes are made for cutting or gouging and requires no outside shielding gas. It can be used outdoor in light to medium weight. Compare po sa mga ibang welding processes, they are very sensitive in wind. Because wind, if we're welding na masyado pong mahangin, it can cause a weld defect, which is called porosity. Next, the ability to bend the electrode in the small space the electrode takes allow the process to be used in comparatively tight spaces. If this SMAW have an advantage, syempre meron po siyang disadvantage. Next, we have the lower deposition rate compared to FCOW or GMAW. Ayan. And the filler material cost per weld can be greater due to the lower decomposition efficiency that can vary greatly with the sub's length. And production factor is typically lower and less welding in the various materials due to the rod changes and shipping slag. Kumbaga, mas madali pong magtrabaho kay Jita kasi you're not going to chip the slag anymore. Pag sinabi po natin slag, yan po yung tinatanggal po natin. At sa SMAW po, kailangan po na tanggalin po natin yung slag para hindi po tayo magkaroon ng weld defects. Ayan. Next, need more hand-eye coordination than GMAW or FCOW, and slag must be removed as compared to GTAW and SMAW. Based from my experience, one way to remove the slag in welding or in SMAW is using grinding. And sometimes, ang ginagawa po namin para po ma-remove ang slag sa SMAW, we're going to use chipping hammer. And then, we're going to steel brush para mas mapakintab or mas mapalinis po natin yung ating metal or yung ating weld to avoid any kind of welding defect. Okay, next, we're going to discuss the different materials used in SMAW. So, first in line, we have the non-consumable hand tools. These are, ibig sabihin ng non-consumable, hindi sila nauubos, pero pwede po natin silang palitan. Next, first we have the hacksaw. We have the ball pen hammer, the wrench. Ito po yung pinag-a-adjust po natin pagdating po ng acetylene. Pag nagpuputol po tayo ng part or ng metal po natin. And the hand scraper. Next, we have the chipping hammer and we have the half-round file. Right, so I have here an example of the chipping hammer as I stated earlier. This kind of material or the hand tool is used to remove the slag in our weld. And we have here the half-round file. This kind of hand tool is used especially in cleaning our base metal to avoid any weld defects. Next, we have the non-consumable equipments. First, we have the welding machine, either portable or not portable. We have the welding holder and the angle grinder. And let's go to the materials that are consumable or nauubos. First, we have the electrodes. As I stated earlier, ang ating pong electrode ay nauubos. Cutting disc, grinding disc, steel brush, oxygen, and gas. I have here the steel brush. Nauubos po yan. Kapag ating Okay, next we're going to discuss the safety work procedure in welding or in SMAW. So first, we're going to welding equipments, cables, and other equipment should be suitably placed to avoid imposing hazard. For example, to avoid the electrical shocks, tripping, etc. on the welding worker and other workers. So we must see to it the safety of our workers. So make sure that all the welding equipments or materials must be arranged properly to their designated areas. Right? Next, we are going to proper warning signs and notice should be displayed at the welding equipments and the other workplace as appropriate to alert the welding workers and do's and don'ts. So we must post the warning signs properly para makita po ng ating mga workers or hindi lang po mga workers or other people the different warning signs. Use personal protective equipments, fire hazard, etc. So, we must follow, example, the warning signs. As an example, dahil sa pag-welding po natin, example, we're going to grind. Kapag nag-grind po tayo, kailangan masigurado po natin na walang dumadaan-daan dahil pwede pong tumalsik yung ginagrind po. Dahil yun po ay isang metal na pwede pong mag-cause ng danger kapag natalsikan po tayo. So, yan mga ganyan. So, since we stated the word personal protective equipments, let's define or let's identify what are the different personal protective equipment used in welding. So as you can see the picture, we have the welding cap, dust mask, leather welding jacket, long pants, high-top leather work boots or your safety shoes, and safety glasses, welding helmet, type welding gloves, leather apron, leather span. Or we have here the respiratory. Especially kapag nag-weld po tayo, we're going to use the respirator, or we can use the simply disposable mask, or yan, yung N95 to avoid na malanghap po natin yung usok ng wini-weld po natin. And welding mask, we have two types, either the manual or the auto dark. We have the gloves to avoid yung burns pagkapasok, protective boots or your safety shoes para in case po na nahulog ang bakal is hindi po matamaan yung ating mga paa. Protective clothing, either pwede po tayong gumamit ng overall or a leather jacket or yung makapal na jacket po para hindi po tayo mapasok sa ating mga katawan. Right? So next, the welding workers and other in the vicinity of welding workplace should be protected from heat, radiation, spark, and weld spattered by suitable skins and shield. Based from my experience, dun po sa welding, kumbaga we have the different designated booth at yun po ay may mga shield para hindi po nagsisitalsikan. Hindi po magdadamayan. Yan. Next, make sure the fire extinguisher equipments or the fire extinguisher and sand bucket, etc. should be provided in the welding workplace and its vicinity. Hindi naman po natin alam ang pwedeng mangyari. Pwedeng mag-cause po ng fire. So, make sure na nandun po yung fire extinguisher sa tabi na may designated fire extinguisher para po hindi po yun mag-cause ng sunog sa ating workplace. And any consumable or flammable materials, example the grease, oil, fuel, paint, welding materials, or etc. Being used or stored in the welding workplace or its vicinity should either be removed, be suitably and adequately covered by non-consumably or flame-retardant materials. So, yun po yung mga kailangan nating isa-isip. And next, any water padding, flooding, or drip splashing of water in the welding workplace and vicinity should be avoided. Dahil nga po gumagamit po tayo ng electricity, make sure na hindi po yun mababasa dahil pwede po magkaroon ng electric shock or pwede po magka-ground or yun, makuryente po yung ating mga workers or ating mga welders. And the different safety procedure is listed in OSHA standards or the Occupational Safety Health Administration Standard 29 CRF 1910.252 that is cover any aspect of welding works including welding safety, welding in confined space, handling or compressed gas, fire and electrical safety, ventilation, protective equipments, and the worker training. So, lahat po naman safety procedure is naka-base po dapat sa ating OSHA. Alright? For our last topic for this is the welding parameters. The purpose of welding parameters is to provide a quality weld. If you want to have a quality weld, we must follow the welding parameters or the 5 essential welding parameters. Ano po yung mga yon? So, please keep in mind the word clamps. When we say clamps, C is for current setting or kailangan po natin isa-isip ang ampere kapag tayo po ay mag-weld. Ang mangyayari kapag masyadong mahina ang ating amperahe sa pag-welding, hindi po natin siya mawi-weld. Pero kapag masyado naman pong malakas ang ating amperahe, pwede po itong magbutas sa ating metal. Or pwede pong ma-overweld po yun na mag-produce ng distortion sa ating metal. Next, we have the length of arc. That is the diameter of the electrode in our base metal, approximately 1/8 or 3.2 millimeter yung kanyang length of arc. Next, we have the angle of electrode. Kailangan din po natin sa isip po yung angle po ng ating electrode para po maging maganda ang ating pag-weld. Next, manipulation of the electrode. We have here the different techniques or strategies on how to weld and the speed of trouble. Kapag masyadong mabagal ang ating speed, pwede din pong mabutas ang ating metal. Pero kapag masyado naman pong mabagal, hindi naman po natin masyadong nawi-wield yung ating pong base metal. So, kailangan po natin laging isip ang clamps. That is to produce a quality weld in our welding. Alright? So, that ends our lesson. But before that, we're going to summarize our lesson. So, we discuss or we define the SMAW. And we discuss the different types of electrode, the different welding processes. And we also discuss advantage and disadvantage of SMAW compared to the other welding processes. And the materials that we use in SMAW, the consumable and non-consumable materials, and we discuss the safety work procedures in SMAW, and the PPEs that we need to use, and then we discuss the welding parameters, the clamps. So that ends our lesson for today. So please, this is your learning task. Answer the practical test, page 23. And for your assignment, you're going to research about the menstruation and calculation in welding. So next topic, magko-compute po tayo ng ating simple mathematical equations lang naman po yung ating calculations sa welding. So that's all for today. I hope you learn and I hope you enjoy our discussion. And soon, we're going to have our demonstration in welding. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day.